Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Taped right here on Giants.com and the Giants mobile app. He's Paul Dottino. I am John Schmelk. We are not live, but you can watch this as though we're live, and we'll take your calls. If random people want to call in to the number, we'll take your calls. We already have Ray in Charleston. So anybody else that wants to call in, you can call in here. We have top men working on our streaming issues. We hope to get that resolved shortly, or hopefully early next week. the best men and ladies, and we will take care of that hopefully on Monday, and we'll be back. But I'm back from Mobile. I'm a little punchy. I have not slept a lot the last few days between all the reports and written stories and videos and podcasts. Is the Brugler podcast up, Pearson, or it is? Or are we still waiting for the graphic? We got it. All right. It's going up if it's not up already. And he was great. He did about 20 minutes with me just on Senior Bowl, guys. We'll have Dane back on at the Combine. We've had Dane on for a long time. Paulie Dots, I haven't seen you in like a week. What's going on?
Yeah.
Man?
Hey, John. You know, it's funny because you were down there watching the prospects. I was trying to keep track a little bit as best as I could of the Shriners and also the Senior Bowl guys.
The players at the Shrine Bowl, not actual Shriners, just FYI.
Right.
Because there are actual Shriners. I don't want you following those guys around.
Yes, exactly. Good point, John. And to be frank with you, I had a college basketball game in Boston last night, so I taped. It was okay, but I taped the Shrine game.
I have the Shrine game on tape too. I have not watched it.
And
yet,
I plan on trying to watch it at some point today or tomorrow morning before the Senior Bowl. And then I'll watch the Senior Bowl, and then I'll have a whole lot more to say because you were there and I wasn't, and trying to do things.
Fine.
But I will tell you this, John.
And I have a college game on Saturday, by the way. I'm not sure if you do as well. So I have to tape.
I do not.
I have to tape the Senior Bowl, and then I'll watch that either Saturday night or Sunday morning. So,
but here's my point: it has been really quiet around here because all the Giants football personnel have been out and about in places like where you were.
We saw them.
Yeah,
we saw them.
It has been really quiet.
Absolutely, it was a lot of fun. By the way, I asked for Twitter questions. Send those in if you want. I'll go to hashtag Giants chat, Paul. See if you can find.
Yeah, let me see what we got.
Questions.
There might be
if you want to
something
reply to the tweet I put up, you can do that too. Again, if random callers call in, we will take you too. So, I'll throw a couple basic things out, Paul. And if you want to pepper me on specifics, you can after you start taking some questions. A few things that jumped out to me. This was not like a glitzy wide receiver class at the Senior Bowl, which I think kind of goes in line with the draft class in general. It's not a glitzy wide receiver class.
Right.
There were some good players that could be, like maybe late round 2, early, round 3 type of picks. I think probably more like round 3 than round 2, to be honest with you. But there were some decent players. There were some corners. I thought the running back class was phenomenal. Tyjae Spears, Kenny McIntosh, Chase Brown, the Oklahoma kid, Eric Gray. I thought the running back class was really strong, and it's hard in these, to notice running backs and with one-on-ones and stuff. It's not like made for the position, but even so, just the way they move and the way they played, I thought they were really good. And I thought the offensive line class was really good. You know how it works, Paul. When you do these offensive line, defensive line one-on-ones, it's advantage defense. They have a built-in advantage in those drills, and I thought the offensive linemen generally won those. And I was pretty impressed by some of the offensive linemen, especially some of the guards and centers. So I think you could see a lot of plug-and-play guys day 2, early day 3 here, where you draft them, you could put them in there, and they might not be stars, but I think they'll be solid players.
From the clips that I saw, John, and you're going to have to tell me if this is legitimate to feel this way, it looked to me like this was not a very exceptional pass rushing class, and that was why the offensive linemen were holding up so well.
Or maybe it wasn't an exception, or maybe the offensive linemen were so good, the pass rushing class didn't look as good.
It can be either one. I was more inclined to be more impressed with the offensive linemen and downgrade the pass rushers.
Yeah, look, and to me, Paul, look, there was Isaiah Foskey had 2 10-sack seasons in a row. He's a good player. You had some pretty good, accomplished pass rushers here, and I thought the offensive linemen just did a really good job. So I'm with you. I want to give the offensive linemen credit. Osiris Torrance out of Florida, 330. He gets his hands on you, it's over. Tank, big guy. He played at Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns, for 4 years before he transferred to Florida this season. He was really good. The guy from TCU, Steve Avila, he was excellent. You watched him in the national championship game and in the college football playoffs. Again, bigger guy, Paul. These are two guys you would like. 6'3", 330,
Yeah.
mauler, gets his hands on you. And he actually took some snaps at center, too, in practice, which I thought was interesting. Because that's a position the Giants might be looking for. Because right now they don't have any centers really under contract, except unless you want to count Bredesen in that category or Lemieux.
Right.
So that I thought that was interesting. John Michael Schmitz, the center out of Minnesota, I thought did a really nice job. Another interior lineman that they
I
good.
did see some stuff on him.
He
when
was very
on.
good. Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse, who did tackle and guard, though I think he's probably more of a guard. I thought he had a nice week. So I think you saw some, mid-round interior offensive linemen, even a couple tackles that I thought did pretty good. Darnell Wright out of Tennessee, I think is a day 2 pick. He did pretty well. So I think you take a look at those guys, and I think you say, look, these guys, they're going to be guys you can probably play pretty early in their careers, and they might not be stars, but I think they'll do good jobs.
The other generic thought that I had from the stuff that I did see, it looked like it was a nice week for the corners.
Yes, I think the corners did pretty well. Darius Rush out of South Carolina had a few interceptions. Caillou Blue Kelly, which is an interesting name, out of Stanford. He was excellent. He had a couple interceptions there. A couple safeties. Sidney Brown out of Illinois, who's Chase Brown's, the running back's twin brother, by the way. He was excellent. Christopher Smith out of Georgia was very good. He's one of those 5'10", 190-pound safeties, so he's almost more a slot corner than he's kind of one of those like crossover guys. Jamie Robinson's kind of the same way. He's kind of like a safety, but he has corner skills.
Right.
So those two guys I would kind of lump into the same category. Yeah, I thought the corners played well. The quarterbacks were not great. I think that probably helped the corners a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw more interceptions in one-on-ones and 7-on-7s than I've maybe ever seen at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, and I know they didn't show everything on the video highlights that I was watching during the week, but you're right, John. I was very underwhelmed by the quarterbacks. Although I think it was Daniel Jeremiah who I think said 3 first-rounders and maybe 4 if you think Richardson makes it into the first round.
Well, none of those guys were in Mobile, obviously.
But when he was talking about the quarterback class, because the guys you got at the facility or at the field were not those guys.
The guys in Mobile, day 3 picks.
Yeah, they're not. There was nothing
and
there.
Maybe not until round 5 even. Like there wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't want to be mean, but there wasn't a ton there.
Yeah, which is something we've been telling people for a year.
Which is fine. But yeah, look, I think you're definitely going to have 4 first-round quarterbacks. Like, it's not even a question. You're going to have 4
You like Richardson to make it.
He has so much raw physical talent. The way he can run. I mean, Paul, he runs like a running back.
Yeah, I know.
And he has a cannon. He just doesn't know what he's doing as a passer. He's all over the place. He's inconsistent. But to me, that's your classic guy. And maybe he'll go earlier than this, but I've kind of termed him through this process. If you guys watch draft season, go subscribe to the podcast. Tony Paulie and I, new episode from the Senior Bowl yesterday. He's that guy you trade into the end of the first round to get the 5th-year option on.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's how I see him. Paul, he's Cam Newton.
No, I know.
He's just not as polished as a passer as Cam was coming out.
I know.
But physically, like all those freak show qualities, the guy's Cam Newton. He just is not where Cam was as a passer when Cam came out of school. He was a much better thrower.
Right.
So was Lamar, by the way. Like, people want to make the Richardson-Lamar Jackson comparisons.
No.
Lamar Jackson is so much further along as a passer when he came out.
Cannot do
like,
that.
you want to compare him as athletes? Okay, that's fine. But Lamar Jackson was a much better quarterback coming out as a passer than Richardson is.
Not even close.
And I think you're looking at 3 top 10 quarterbacks. I think Stroud, Levis, and Bryce Young are all top 10 players. Whether they deserve to be there or not is another question. But with all the look, we've talked about this before, right? We got to a point a few years ago where there were more quarterbacks that were worthy of starting in the league than there were spots for them to start.
Right.
That's not the case anymore.
No.
We've had so many retirements, and all the old guard is gone now.
The era has flipped now.
Right. Brady's gone. Eli's gone. Roethlisberger gone.
Rivers.
Phillip Rivers is gone. Drew Brees is gone.
Soon to be Matt Ryan gone.
No, 100%. Soon to be Aaron Rodgers gone, maybe too, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at 7 or 8 guys, and if you look at the most recent quarterback classes, the Baker class had 2 or 3 guys flame out who are not necessarily going to be starters. So, the last few quarterback classes, we had, only one last year in Kenny Pickett, who looked, I think, okay as a rookie. So they just haven't produced the quarterbacks you need to replace those guys. So Now I think there's really a paucity. You're looking at a half dozen teams in the draft that could be looking for quarterbacks. So these guys are going to go in the top 10. They're gifted enough to go that high.
You have been writing about the draft or the draftees all week long. So folks, check that out. John put stuff on every day for Mobile. I wanted to ask you two different questions.
Yeah, what do you got?
That are not about the prospects, but about your trip.
And then I will get to calls.
Okay, number one, how much, if any, talk was there about free agency in terms of scuttlebutt while you were down at the Senior Bowl?
There were some. Do you have any specific questions?
Well, specifically, how are those big-name quarterbacks who may or may not be either free agents, traded, or cut, how does it look like from the scuttlebutt that they're going to shake out?
Aaron Rodgers will not wind up with an NFC team. The Packers will only move him to an AFC team.
Oh, that's something I had not heard. All right, so there you go.
That's
There's something good.
I've heard.
David Carr?
Or Derek Carr.
David's staying with NFL Network.
Yeah, I think he's happy.
Yes, I do. I agree.
There's doubt as to whether or not Derek Carr will accept the trade anywhere. That it might be in his best interest to make them cut him so he can sign a free agent contract and go wherever he wants.
Okay.
Even if that first year might not be the 41 that he's owed, it'll be a long enough term deal with more guaranteed money that it makes more sense for him to just go in fresh, pick the team you want to go to. They don't have to give up anything to get you. Because what's the motivation for him to because he has no trade clause.
Yes.
So what's the motivation for him to approve a trade?
There's not really.
Right. So I think that's the thing with Derek Carr that people are talking about.
How about Jimmy G?
I did not hear much about Jimmy G.
Okay. Those are
I
kind
think there
of the
are
bigger names.
some people have said, would San Fran want to bring him back for a year because of the Purdy and
They
Lance
announced they
injuries?
will not.
Oh, they did. I didn't see that.
That came out. I saw it overnight.
Okay.
They said they are not going to bring him back.
Okay.
They're moving on from him. Okay, my second question has to do with the Giants people.
Yes.
This is the first time that Shane and Dable have been to any of these things as Giants personnel.
No, Shane was at the Senior Bowl last year as the GM.
He did go.
That was his. I remember we were there and we mic'd him up. So yes.
Okay.
But
see, I didn't even remember that.
He had not hired that was at the very beginning of the coaching
as
search,
a twosome.
though. Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
What did you notice about them, if anything, that either surprised you or intrigued you about how they went about their business trying to scout out these guys?
None of them wore Giants clothes, so it was impossible to find them in the stands with our cameras. That would be the first thing that stood out to me. Yeah, they were all, they were, and well, Dable and Wink were wearing their like black Giants gear, which is just harder to spot because it's black. It's not the bright Giants blue.
Right.
That was the first thing, which nobody really cares about but us. But yeah, I thought that was funny.
It is funny. Did they split up? Did they stay together?
No, everyone was kind of spread out. The Giants had probably more coaches there than most teams.
Kafka and Wink Martindale both?
Yeah, and assistants.
T-Mac?
I did not see T-Mac, but
Okay.
that doesn't mean he wasn't there. I just didn't.
Okay.
I didn't have. But multiple assistants on offense and defense were there.
I probably should ask you one more follow-up question,
Yes.
and that is the reports out of some of these newspapers saying Wink Martindale is now the favorite for the Colts job.
I did not see that. I've been working all morning. Did that come out this morning?
Believe in the last 36 hours.
Oh, really?
But how much conversation, if at all, was there about Kafka or Martindale perhaps going somewhere else?
I did not hear anything specifically. I think a lot of people are like, who knows what the Colts are going to do because that the owner, you just don't know. Well, you just don't know what they're going to do.
That's true. He took a TV announcer.
Yeah, correct. 100%. And last year they were I think that, or was that the Texans that were close to hiring McCown? I think that were the Texans last year that were close to hiring McCown.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, obviously you don't want that, and
for them I'd be very happy.
So
for this organization I'd be terribly disappointed.
Now, the only good thing is that I think if Wink leaves, I do think you have Drew Wilkins, who's his protege pretty much.
Unless he takes him.
I think if Wink, if the Giants all give him the DC job, I think Wink would be happy to let him stay. Remember, Wink at a press conference said he deserves to be a DC.
Correct.
So I think if he has a chance to be the DC here and Drew wants the job, and I don't see why he wouldn't, I would imagine Wink would. I think he would stay here.
But
again, maybe I'm wrong. I could be crazy. Maybe he'll go out to the organization.
Wink
I don't know.
could take him and give him the DC job where he lands, though, is what I'm saying to you. In other words, Drew doesn't have to be the DC here. He could be the DC for Wink.
That's a good point. See, I'm tired. That did not compute for
I'm
me right
sorry,
away.
but that's why I
No,
asked.
you know, it's a great question, a great point.
'Cause, I mean-
I'm an idiot for not thinking about that myself. Yeah, you could, and then it gets interesting.
That's why, from a Giants perspective, I'd be disappointed because you're talking about not just the lead guy, but he might take others with him. And that would really be a shame because this coaching staff was sensational this past season.
Yeah, no, they did a great job. Yeah, that would be disappointing. But no, I did not hear anything specifically about that.
All right. Those are the kind of quick general questions I had.
I could tell you Wink was there, and he was talking to Giant coaches and front office people and all that stuff, so they were acting as though he was going to be here next year.
Well,
scouting,
he's got to conduct himself as if things will be status quo
Yeah.
until he gets that phone call that
Exactly.
says we have an offer.
100%.
You know, so I don't see anything in Giants chat.
I do have some replies here to my tweet, so maybe
Okay.
So maybe I do have some stuff here, but I want to get to the calls first, Pearson.
Yes.
Because people did call in, they are holding, so let's make sure we get to that first. 201-939-4513. Ray is in Charleston. He'll lead us off. Hello, Ray. Roy.
It's Roy.
Hello, Roy.
Yep,
Sorry.
How you doing, Roy?
I did not open up the document. I'm seeing it on Pearson's screen about 10 feet away. I swear to God, that's what I'm doing. And it looked like a Ray from here, not a Roy. Roy, my apologies. What's
Okay.
going on?
No worry, guys. I'm glad you got back safely. And, I just got to tell you, Paul, how dare you speak of such things? I can't believe you said that. I'm really not happy with you, man. Here you
He
spoke
thinks you're
into
mushing
existence.
Wink.
Yes.
I don't want
And
Wink to
then-
leave. Are you kidding
Why
me?
did you even bring it up?
Because
No, it's news.
It is
It's
news, and this guy was on the ground with where
No.
everybody is.
And you know what's funny? I was so locked into what I was doing with the writing and all the reports and the podcast and and everything. All this stuff. Like, dude, I didn't find out Brady retired until like 8 hours after it happened. Like,
Oh, my
I'm not,
God.
Like, I'm not on my. I'm not looking
Wow.
at. Dude, you know how it is at these practices.
I know.
There's so many things going on
I
at the same
know.
time.
I
You're like
know.
locked in to everything going on
That's
on
right.
the field.
That's right.
You know, I did hear Pearson's wails from East Rutherford after Brady announced, but other than that, I didn't hear anything about the news.
Okay.
And then here Paul says, yeah, what happens if Wink gets a job and then he takes
I know.
an
Look,
assistant with him? I mean,
I'm having trouble sleeping at night over this very concept. Okay.
Well,
Now the question is,
well,
here's the thing,
now
though.
I'm not going to. Yeah, now I'm not going to sleep. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
and Roy, real
Okay.
quick though, I will say this, and now that I've tried to compute this more with my no sleep brain, if Wink is going to call the defensive plays there as the head coach, and I imagine he would, because usually when you hire a guy because he's an expert somewhere, he would do that, right? Maybe then Wilkins would want
Possibly.
the opportunity to call the defensive plays here instead.
Possibly.
Maybe. I don't know the answer to that, though.
I know.
Well, I just hope Wink stays. That's all I care.
The way that Wink talks about these assistants on the defensive side of the ball, and he glows
Man.
about all these guys. He has said so many wonderful things about Patterson and about the Wilkins brothers and about Jerome
Henderson, who wasn't even with Wink until
Wha-
this year. Right.
And he loves Jerome Henderson. Has said many times he thinks he's the best secondary coach in the league. Don't you think if he gets a job, he's going to want to start pilfering some of these guys? I think it's pretty obvious.
Stop it! Stop it!
All right, I'm sorry.
It really is.
Yes.
I know it really is. And God bless him if
He's a great dude,
I'm always
man.
in favor of. Yeah,
He is. He's a great
the
dude.
And so are the other coaches. I mean,
Yeah.
my gosh, all the position coaches. So anyway, so I'm not very familiar with great. I just free agency.
Yeah.
And I know we've got a bunch of guys that are look like Gates. Gates is a free agent this year.
Yes,
right?
he is. So's Feliciano.
Right. And I remember you said, Paul, that Joe Shane has been under the Buffalo system of being able to manipulate some of that money
Yes.
to benefit both the team and the player.
Yes.
So And we've talked about who needs to stay, who needs, who we really need to sign. We did talk about, Daniel, Saquon, and Julian, but I think about, I love Slayton. I've always loved Slayton ever since he caught that that back shoulder pass one, was it 2 years ago? That was just phenomenal. But we've noticed his consistency definitely needs to improve. His hands has got to, he's got to get a little stickier with those hands. With all the free agency that's going on, do you think it's really, is it feasible to look outside of our roster to replace some of these guys, even though they might want a little more money than, in other words, you think there are guys on the market who can replace somebody like Gates?
All right, here's the problem. I'm going to answer you in a different way. It won't be exactly what you're asking, but it's kind of a roundabout way to get to the actual solution. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Giants probably have more than 3 unrestricted free agents that they'd love to bring back. Okay? Obviously, Barkley, Jones, and Love are the 3 guys. I think we would all agree the Giants want those 3 guys back. Okay?
Agreed.
But here is the issue. They may have as many as, and I'm just going to pick a number out of the air, and I don't think it's unrealistic. There may be 5 other unrestricted free agents on their list of 21 that they'd really like to have back. But by the time you get done with the top 3, John, there is a possibility.
Well, if you can even get the top 3 done.
I'm going to assume they can.
All right.
But because I believe in the machinations of the Bills, the way they dealt with their cap, and I think that Shane will use many of those tricks to get these guys in here.
Well, yeah, but the players and their agents have to agree to these contracts.
I think these 3 players have made it clear they'd like to be Giants.
Okay. We'll
So
see.
I'm gonna hypothetically assume those 3 guys make it in.
Well, then you're done.
That's the problem, is that of the other 5, let's say, that they'd like to keep, they're going to have to pair probably at least 3 of them, maybe even more, because you're going to have to do what you need to do to get those top 3 guys in. So it's not that necessarily they don't want other guys, it's that they can't afford the other guys. Is that fair?
Right. 100%. It's just math.
So
Yeah.
So where I think our priority is continuing to shore up the O-line. Like you said, the trenches is where the O-line and the D-line, we shore that up, so I think that as opposed to getting, some watch. And John, you mentioned that you were not impressed with the wide receivers in the Shriners Bowl, correct?
Well, no, the Senior Bowl, not the Shrine Game.
Senior Bowl,
yeah.
okay.
I wasn't in
Okay.
Vegas.
Okay, I got you.
Sadly.
Okay, well, sadly. Okay, well,
Look, the free agent receiving core is not very good either.
And it's not. Look, yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't want to depress Giant fans. This is not the best offseason to be really needing a number 1 wide receiver.
No, it's not. It's really not.
I got you.
So, be
It
that
is what
as
it
may.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's one thing I can tell you, though. If you're in the trade market for somebody, the Giants have 9 picks. They're expected to get 2 compensatories, which would give them 11. There's a possibility that Joe Shane might wheel deal something here.
Yeah, really good wide receivers don't come cheap, though.
No, they don't.
Right.
No, they don't.
Right.
But
Right.
maybe, like Buffalo went and traded some picks for Diggs.
Yep.
Maybe Joe Shane pulls off something like that.
Yeah, if you're looking to get a receiver at that level, it starts with your first-round pick.
So,
And then you have to go from there.
All right, guys.
All right.
Well, listen.
be good.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to Tim in Charleston. I got your email from
Pearson making things happen.
Thank you.
Pearson
Thank you.
making
Wow.
things happen. I appreciate the call, Roy. Thank you so much.
Are you taking a cut of that business deal, Pearson?
Yeah, but
Is it a business deal?
no, I don't think it is. So
when do you want to release me? It looks like they want to grab you.
yeah, we're not live. We're recording. So Paul will be done in about 5 or 10 minutes. Perfect.
Okay.
We have a lot of things going on here, folks. That's a dip behind the curtain. Pearson,
Yes.
oh, stop laughing over there. No, so Paul has to record some Inside the Films with Sean O'Hara, who's, I believe, probably watching the tape right now. So I'll release
Yes.
you soon enough. We'll
Okay.
get to you. I do have a bunch of questions that I can get to once you depart. Let's go to Marty in Manahawkin. He's up next. Hey, Marty.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Hey,
I
Marty.
talked to you last year. We were talking about the tight ends, and I seen those two guys that were down there. What did you think of Luke Musgrave's son?
Luke Musgrave was excellent. He was by far the best tight end there, in my opinion. He could be a late 1, early 2. Big guy. Now, he hadn't played football since September now. He had a knee injury. He missed the whole last 3-4 months of the year. And you could see the rust. Like, he dropped some passes he would normally catch. But the length, the athleticism, the speed, like, he checks every box. He's 250, 6'5". He checks every box you want out of a tight end. So, yes, really good player. Not sure he's 1,000% healthy, but he was healthy enough to go there and play. You hope he gets back and talking like rumors and whispers. People think he's going to absolutely annihilate the combine and like do a really good job. So people told me that while most people assume Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame is going to be the first tight end picked, not necessarily.
Interesting.
I also was listening to the guys that were there, who was Lewis Riddick and the other guys. They were saying that when he ran, they clocked him at 21 miles an hour.
Yeah.
He was very
Yeah.
much at the top of those player tracker leaders, 100%.
They were talking about he was blowing away mostly all the receivers down there with his speed.
Yeah, no, he was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about the Tyreek Stevenson from Miami, the corner?
Really good frame, really good athlete. He was a walking holding penalty. I mean, he was grabbing and clutching and holding and doing all that stuff. He checks every box. If you're looking for a guy with tools that you think you can coach up, he's your guy. But yeah, he had some technique issues. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're right. The Giants contingent were hard to pick up. I did pick up Wink Martindale there with his. Usually he's got his white.
Yes. Wink was the easy
white shirt
one.
with his vest over.
He had the
it.
white sleeves. You could see Wink's white sleeves from everywhere, but everyone else was hard to spot. 100%.
And his baseball cap, I'm sure,
that's
right?
correct. Yeah, the whole deal.
Always. That's Wink.
Well, I hope we don't lose him because really we do need him. But they're saying he's the front runner, but I'll be honest with you, I don't listen to too many of the local reporters when they put stuff out. It's like they're wishing for things, But well, we'll see what happens. And did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was fun. It was weird. Like, Mobile's usually pretty like chilly and cold and things like that. So, the first day we go down there, Paul, you would have loved it. It was bright and sunny and like 85 degrees.
You're burned.
The whole left side of my face was like baked like a lobster.
I could see it.
It's not good. And then the next few days, I had to buy a sweatshirt and winter hat because it got so cold that I was freezing sitting on the metal bleachers.
Wow.
Yeah, so it went from like one extreme to the other like in a day. It was
That's
crazy.
nuts.
It didn't rain though, which was good. So we got to stay outside and watch practice at the stadium, which was good.
Well, it's good you're back, John, and we hope you settle in and we get back to normal here with everything. So I'm glad you enjoyed your trip.
No, I appreciate it. I'm happy to be back. And we'll be back with regular shows next week. The following week, we might end up taking a week off. We're going to see how that goes. We'll see. But yeah, we're rocking and rolling. It should be a lot of fun. All right, Paul, I got a couple questions here. Let me see if I can find some non-combine related ones for you. Let's see what we got here. Carl Banks had to CC me on a tweet in the middle of the show. So now I got all these replies to that filling my mentions here.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Which is not helping me really one bit here. Let me see if I can. There we go. Replies to this tweet. That's what I'm looking for. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, here's one that you'll get upset about, Paul. You ready for this one?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You'll get mad about this.
You love to poke the bear, don't you?
I didn't submit the question.
Okay,
Don't
go
be
ahead.
mad at me. All right. At Thetis Son.
Okay.
That is on something? I don't know. Would be nice to hear a discussion on the possibility of trading Daniel Jones, similar to how Rosen traded Wentz. Maybe this would happen after the draft as Shane can land the prospect he likes, but there's so many quarterback-needy teams got to figure NYG could get a haul. This is not anti-DJ. He's being clear about that. Just hard to win and rebuild with a quarterback making a lot of money eating cap space. I don't hear this scenario get discussed enough.
Wow. I discuss the quarterback salary cap numbers all the time.
No, but the trade. He's talking about whether you could trade him because the cap number would be too high.
Oh.
That's the point. That's the thing that doesn't get discussed enough.
See, I think, personally, I think that it's been made very clear by everyone in the Giants hierarchy, as well as Daniel Jones, although they've been more vocal than Daniel himself. This is a match that everybody wants to happen. I don't get the sense that anybody is lukewarm about him staying a Giant.
I would be shocked if he's not the quarterback next year.
I mean, we've been saying this now for a couple of months.
Because look, they have the franchise tag. That's the thing, right? So if they want him here, he's going to be here. And, I mean, look, is there a situation where they put the non-exclusive tag on him, someone blows him away with a crazy deal, and the team walks away with 2 first-round picks? Is that out of the realm of possibilities? I suppose not.
A deal's not a deal till it's a deal.
Right. But I would be very, very surprised if he wasn't.
I've been saying the same. Here's what I will add to you, okay? It's my hypothesis, and this is not coming from upstairs. I think we've talked about this once before, maybe not on the air.
I haven't been on with you in a couple of weeks, so I don't know.
So maybe not.
Yeah.
It is my hypothesis that he will get something like a 3-year deal for real with extra years tacked on, or a 4-year deal with a ghost 5th, so that the trade-off to Daniel is this. You help us out a little bit and give us a little bit of a lower number, because we know you want to be here and we want you here, and we're trying to keep Saquon, and we're trying to go out and get a big receiver for you, and we're trying to fortify that line. All right, let's make it all good for everybody. And in return for all of this, what we're going to do is we'll make it a shorter-term deal that'll give you a player option on the back end of it as the 4th or 5th year, so that if...
Well, I mean, it would have to be the 4th year, because a 4-year deal is not a short deal. A 3-year deal is a short deal. Right.
Well, then 3 with a 4.
Right.
And the player option this is why it works, in my opinion, because then Daniel will have the opportunity to go out and get another mega contract before he's 30 years old. And that's usually the litmus test for a lot of these guys when they say, well, once I hit 30, I'm not getting a big splash contract again.
Right, but even in that situation, I think it would have to still be significantly more than what the tag is. Because otherwise, he would just play under the tag.
See, I don't think it's going to have to be. I think...
Why would he take a 3-year deal with the tag is when he can have it on a 1-year deal?
For the security. The security of, I know I've got 3 years guaranteed as opposed to 1 year guarantee. I think his number's going to wind up coming in somewhere between 30 and 32. 30's
there's no way, Paul.
30,
there's no way.
30 is the transition.
There's no way.
Well, 30 is the transition.
Throw that away.
32 is the franchise.
He's not getting transition tagged. If anything, he's going to get...
I don't think he's going to get transition tagged, but the numbers are 32 and 30.
Yeah.
I think he's going to come in somewhere in there.
Why would he ever sign a long-term deal for the same as the franchise
I'm not saying long-term. I'm talking short-term.
Yeah, but it's longer than 1 year.
Yeah, but it's guaranteed money.
I think you're being too optimistic.
I think the highest that it goes is 34.
Oh, I don't think there's any way he signs a deal for less than 35.
Okay. That's all right. And you know why? This is all conjecture.
Oh, no.
None of us have any idea.
Yeah. This isn't anything we know. This is just our opinion in terms of how this is going to go.
You know, we were looking the other day when you were down in Mobile about, the top 10 quarterbacks in terms of average yearly salary. Mm-hmm. And I think we said Cousins is 35, and he's number 10.
I don't remember what number he was, but in the ranking, but he was 35 million,
right?
For sure.
He's 35, and he's number 10.
And I can't imagine him taking less than that.
So the question is, where do you value Daniel? And I still think that it's going to be somewhere right in that ballpark. I really do. I don't think he's going to. If he goes over that, it'll be by a slim margin. I really believe that. But here's the thing. I'm looking at it that I think I'm doing the player a huge favor if I give him a 3 or a 4 with that player option on the 4 or the 5, however you want to play it is okay with me.
Right.
To give him the way he can opt out before he's 30 years old so he can go get another mega contract, which may be here. I think that piece of freedom is huge.
Well, right, but here's the thing. But
he's going to get a guarantee.
But maybe he wants the shorter deal plus the more money in the guarantee. Maybe he wants both.
And you know what? Human nature always says get whatever you can get.
Well,
right?
and this is why it's more difficult for. And again, we're not arguing here. We're just taking both
throwing
sides
out
of
possibilities.
All right, we're taking both sides of the. Remember, this is a negotiation. right? Both sides have to agree to this, which is why it's so difficult. And look, the negotiations haven't started. We have no idea how this is going to go. So this is just us, throwing things around here somewhat haphazardly, where this is not working out an extension. The difference here is that he's an unrestricted free agent.
Right.
So that moves leverage to the player side. Because another team come in to sign you.
And a team could come and blow him out of the water with a ridiculous number that's so out of the ordinary and unrealistic that maybe he would have to take it.
And
could happen.
And when guys are coming off their rookie deals, understandably so, oftentimes, again, maybe Daniel will look at it this way, I don't know, they want to cash in on that first deal, right?
See,
so,
for me, John,
we'll see.
What makes it hard, and we'll let it go here, is that I'm trying to say from both sides, okay, what could be good for Daniel? What are some of the things that could be good for him? And what are some of the things that could be good for the Giants? And that's where I'm trying to melt it into the middle and find something that I think is palatable.
By the way,
and giving both sides something tasty.
I agree with your theory. That
unfortunately,
I think
sometimes theories are fantasy. I get that.
If I had to guess, this would land in the window of a 3-year deal rather than a 6 or 7 year deal. I think where this will end.
All right, so you're with me on that.
I just think the number's higher.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I agree with you in terms that it does benefit Daniel to have the shorter deal. He can cash in. Again, I think that's a benefit to him. And I do think the 3 years over the 1 gives him more security and more guaranteed money. I just think the starting point on those discussions are maybe $5 million higher than you do. I could be wrong, though. And you could be right, or you could be wrong, and I could be right. I don't know the answer. Who knows what Daniel Jones' agents and Daniel's going to ask for? We don't know. Nobody knows. But this is why this is going to be hard. This is why this is not an easy thing to figure out.
Right.
And that's why, hopefully they get it done before the tag deadline so they can figure out what they're going to do and, plan their money. Because you remember, the problem you run into is that if you don't have this done, so much of that pie you have to leave aside on, if they have to tag them, you just take $32 million out of your cap space and erase it.
So much.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'd really rather not do that if you can. The question is whether or not they can figure out a number that works for both sides.
What you really want, all right, there are deals that are good for the player. There are deals that are good for the team. And then what you want is a deal that is good for the team because it's also good for the player.
Right.
That's what you want.
Right.
You want number 3.
Right.
And you want the player to understand that's what's good for the team is also good for you. That's what you want to somehow come to an agreement on.
Yes. It is a tough line to draw, though.
It's hard to draw it.
I mean,
but the first step is the player wanting to stay.
Well, for example,
the first thing.
I think you want to go back. We've had these discussions at the Combine plenty of times over the years. That's what Dallas tried to do with Dak Prescott. Right? They tried to do a deal that was good for them but good for the player.
And instead they got fleeced.
And you know what Dak said? No, I want all the money. Mm-hmm. And what did they have to do in the end to keep their quarterback?
They wound up giving him the money.
They had to give him the money because what's your answer if he walks? Same with Kirk Cousins, right? When he played the franchise tag game.
This is true.
And again, those are how the two sides are going to argue this, and we'll see where it lands. Who knows?
Okay.
I have no idea. Paul, go do your thing.
I'll see you.
I'll
Bye,
take
folks.
some Senior Bowl questions. All right, Paul. Good stuff. Thank you, my friend. I'm going to slide over and go in the middle now as I take some questions about the Senior Bowl here. Thanks for sending in your questions, folks. We appreciate it. I will get to as many as we can here before we say goodbye. All right, here we go. Rodney Blaze asks, Sidney Brown, Xavier Hutchinson, Rashi Rice. What do you think? All right, I'll go through one by one here. Sidney Brown, for the fans that don't know, I know a lot of these names are unfamiliar for people, so I'll try to do my best in laying the ground on what all these guys are. Sidney Brown is a safety out of Illinois. His twin brother is Chase Brown, the running back, also out of Illinois. Sidney Brown played really well. I thought he was maybe one of the best safeties there. What did he measure in at Sidney Brown? He measured in at 5'10", 213. He's thick. He played a little bit of center field. He played a little bit of the slot. He did a little bit of everything. I thought he played really well. I thought he did well by himself. I think he could possibly be now a day 2 pick at safety. Really good player. Xavier Hutchinson, wide receiver out of Iowa State. He measured in at 6'1.5", 207 pounds. Good route runner, good wingspan, good hands. Just doesn't really have that burst or juice to really separate a ton from opposing cornerback. So that's where I kind of land on him. Good player, possession guy. 4th round, 5th round-ish, somewhere in there maybe. And then Rashee Rice. You know, Rice is interesting. I think he was one of the more consistent wide receivers there. He's out of SMU, 6 foot, 200. Doesn't have like the juice to really get deep. He's not super explosive, but runs good routes, good hands, good player. I think he's probably a round 3-ish type of guy, but I don't think he's a 1. I think he's, kind of in that 2 area. And again, more of a route runner possession type than a big play guy. Matthew at Type Ramza. Thoughts on if the bag quarterback play from time to time to hurt some evaluations on receivers? Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. I do think that, that made it tough on some of the wideouts, but, you don't look to see if the pass is complete. You see if the wide receiver can separate and get open, and I think that's how we kind of base the evaluations. But I do think it helps the corners because it does give them more ability to jump on some throws. Also wants to know if there are any sleeper wide receivers. Tank Dell, only 162 pounds, somewhere Lenin, Columbia, Maryland's having a conniption about that. But really fast, can get over the top, good explosiveness. But again, just 5'8", 160. So I think he's going to be limited in what he can do. One guy that I really liked at the game, to be honest with you, is Jaden Reed, a guy I was not very familiar with. I had not watched him before I got there out of Michigan State. Measuring in at 5'10 and a half, 191. He got open, speed over the top, good route runner, good quickness. I was pretty impressed by him. So if you want to look at a guy that maybe not a lot of people were talking about before that, before we got out to the Senior Bowl, I think that's a player we could talk about here. Let's see. We got at 1925, Big Blue Wrecking Crew. What are your top 3 strongest position groups and 3 weakest position groups coming out of the Senior Bowl? Strongest, I like the offensive line group. I like the running back group. Who would I put third? I guess the defensive backs if you want to combine corners and safeties. 3 weakest position groups, I was not in love with the pass rushers. Linebackers, I honestly have, if you're talking about off-ball linebackers, I have trouble with those groups in practice. I need to see them in games. So I don't want to necessarily talk about them. I didn't think quarterbacks were great, to be honest with you. If you want to put that in there, I think you can. So I'll give you 2 on each side there instead. All right, now I got to sort through all these Banks tweets. Let me see. Oh, man, now people are yelling at Charlie here. This is what I got to deal with, Pearson. I got put on this thread in Alabama where this group of Giant fans were killing Charlie because he claimed he was getting all these guys in his spaces, like hundreds, and ended up being like 6. And I got put on this tweet thread, and it was just murdering my mentions, and I couldn't even look at anything. Yeah, I think I'm going to... Oh, here we go. Dylan Davis, thoughts on Jonathan Mingo and Nathaniel Dell. I just gave you my thing on Dell. Mingo was okay. Nothing jumped out at me. I think he's a day 3 type of pick, to be honest with you. I think that's kind of anything that we got here. And Dell does do punt returns, by the way. So did Jaden Reed as well, who I thought was really strong out there. So I think that's everything. We gave you about 40 minutes today. Good job, our 2 callers. Thank you for the questions on Twitter as well. We appreciate it. Michael Wilson from Stanford actually had a nice day, too. I'm just going through some of these tweets, though. So that's kind of where we're at here. Murphy Slaw wanted to know, what do you think the chances are the Giants land a guy like Higgins or Ayuk? Well, for one, those are properties of other teams. So that would have to be a trade, obviously. And it would start with the number 1. So kind of go from there. And then you have to pay the guys too, which again becomes. I'm never a big fan of trading for a guy and then having to pay them too. I don't like that in terms of asset management, just as a contender. So in terms of basics, so that's all I got for you. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Make sure you go subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast, by the way. Great interviews. Dane Brugler is going up today. I mentioned that, and I mentioned draft season earlier, too. Tony Pauline and I had an episode out there in Mobile. We'll have another one next couple weeks as we get closer to the draft. For Pearson Butler, for Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmelk. We'll see you next time on Big Blue Kickoff Live.